Welcome back to my channel. Get your tea ready because we are gonna have like a nice little chit chat. I thought today I would take the time to tell you my story and talk finance. I'm gonna save you thousands of dollars with this little talk, and I'd like to just share my story with you. I've been really into peppermint tea in the afternoons, and of course I have it in my chip mug. Gotta have my Disney mug. So get cozy. I'm sitting in this like kind of ridiculous papasan chair that doesn't have the right cushion, so it's like got a million like pillows in it, and I feel like I'm in a bird's nest, but it's super cozy and fun, so get comfortable. So I started my financial journey in 2018. I started a blog, like a mommy and me blog, lifestyle blog, and I did that for like a year and a half. At the time I was trying to be a stay-at-home mom, and it was a lifestyle blog, and it was kind of just all about like making magic with your kids, which is essentially what I'm doing now, but I'm doing it at more of an adult level and with like a tween versus like a toddler. And that was my focus, and crafting and DIYs. And we were really struggling financially because we were a single income household in Santa Barbara, which is a very expensive place to live. Now I feel like, you know, it's 2025, like it's pretty expensive to live anywhere. But at the time, Santa Barbara was absolutely, I mean, it still is, but absolutely insane. So I had to like kind of check myself and be like, what am I gonna give up? Or you're going back to work, essentially. But I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So that was like my dream. And I actually did that dream for like 10 years. So I started saving like thousands of dollars by doing these things, which I'm gonna go into. I'm actually amazed because I'm still living those lifestyle ways. So it's interesting because I trained myself to live a certain way, and now it's 2025 and we're doing really well financially, and things have changed so much, but I'm still finding that I live the same way that I did in 2018, or when I started this financial journey. Obviously, there are a few things that are different. Like now I'm a homeowner and I'm a little spendier, but I still have like this kind of like foundation that I created for our family. So to get into it, I remember the first Christmas, one set of grandparents, we have four, one set of grandparents sent us $300 for Christmas. And it was supposed to be for all three of us. I'm trying not to cover up magic because I want you to see it because I spent time making it and I love it. So I'm gonna like sit back over here. So we got $300. Now, I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Dave Ramsey and Jordan Page are two content creators, business owners, whatever you want to call them, public figures that changed my life and our family's life. It took me kind of taking all of their information and dissecting it and making it work for our family. They were like such great mentors for me and for my husband. The first thing we wanted to do was follow the Dave Ramsey Baby Step program. I don't know if you've heard of it. I will link these people below. And the first baby step is to save $1,000 and put it in your emergency fund. And that's like a fund that you just like never touch. And then baby step 2 is to pay off all your debt in a snowball fashion, which is smallest to largest, and not pay attention to interest rates. And he also believes in like turning off your 401k and your college fund and all of the things that you are saving for your future until your debt is like cleared. So then the shackles can come off and then you can tackle one goal at a time. So that's kind of his program in a nutshell. And it goes through, I think there's 10 or 11 baby steps. Maybe that's because I'm on the lower end of the baby steps. After you pay off all your debts, then you save 3 to 6 months of expenses, like everything you would need to survive for 6 months to continue the life that you have. And then after that, you start saving for retirement at full capacity and all the things. Now, home ownership can be placed at any point in this equation, and that is also not included in the debt. I don't know why I'm giving you the whole that's all the Dave Ramsey stuff for you. I wasn't meaning to talk about his program. So anyway, to make a long story short, Dave Ramsey, we saved $1,000. We started to do that at that time. That was our goal. And we started to feel so good about it. Like, it was just awesome. At the same time, I was also watching Jordan Page and all of her family tips and frugal lifestyle tips on being a mom. Now, granted, she had 7 to 8 children or something. I have 1. So, you know, things, I had to fudge the numbers and try and figure out like what would really work for us and whatnot, because she was just, you know, had so many children. But one of the things that she taught me was to get a freezer chest, or a chest freezer, I don't know which way you're supposed to say it, and start freezing like tons of food. And that is like a game changer. Like, that saved me so much money. I don't even know how to calculate it. But I would just like to say that number one tip today in saving money is to get one of those freezers. Now, it will affect your electricity bill. I have solar panels, so I can't tell you what it is. At the time, I didn't have solar panels though, and I feel like I was still fine. But I freeze my bread, my butter, my cheese. I literally bring out like slice by slice of frozen bread and put it in the toaster, and none of my bread ever goes bad. Okay. I freeze vegetables. I found the best frozen vegetables to get. I freeze fruit. Did I say cheese? Yeah, cheese. You know, meals that I've prepped, all the things. And I'm telling you, like, having things frozen and not going bad, and like, you know, just thinking ahead, and I'm like, I'm gonna have salmon tomorrow, so I better defrost it, and just that little ebb and flow of like, what am I supposed to get out of the freezer in time, and like thinking ahead saves so much money. And then I have all this room to go shopping and get all the things that I need and stock up on some of the things and maybe tap into some of the sales, and I get that stuff in that freezer. So that was like a huge savings for us. Since we're talking about food, Aldi and grocery outlet, sometimes Trader Joe's, if I'm careful, that place can get a little spendy because the seasonal food is so fun. But Super Walmart, Aldi, and grocery outlet became like my best friend. And I drive a half an hour to these places, 20 minutes to 30 minutes to these places every single week. Like, I make it part of my program no matter what. Like, I'm not gonna stick my hairy little toe into Albertsons or CVS Pharmacy. I'm just like avoiding it at all costs, because I feel like every time I go in there, everything's like $7 or $8. And I know that it's obviously not, but so many things are at a really high price point, and I just find it ridiculous. So my favorite of all of them is Aldi. I feel like I can get the cheaper groceries there, but like good quality, and a lot of like kind of gourmet stuff is there, and like European food. So Aldi's my favorite. Grocery outlet I really like for snacks and certain frozen vegetables and for wine and stuff. But for the most part, I don't feel inspired there, and I feel like I have to look at expiration dates like for everything. Always check expiration dates for your meat and dairy there. But their frozen section's pretty good, and their snack section is really healthy. Super Walmart is dangerous because I get into all the other things and I just can't help myself. So I try to avoid Super Walmarts. Walmart grocery is fine, but ultimately Aldi's great. There's barely anyone in there. It's a small store. They have just what I need, and then it's very consistent. I just get the same stuff all the time. I spend like $150 to $212 a week on food. And a big part of that is realizing how much I'm going to save, making the time for it, and putting a lot of it in the freezer. Like half of my groceries go in the freezer. That saves me so much money. Yes, I have to drive there. Yes, it's a little bit more time away from my home life. I have found that I feel comfortable and safe with the numbers that are at the register at the end. But every time I go into Albertsons, I'm like bracing for it. Like, is this going to be $300 or $400? That's just not how I want to spend my money. There's almost like too many temptations, you know, in the stuff. So that's all the food talk like that I'm gonna do. There are a lot of things that I do to save money with that, and that could be a separate topic. And comment below if you're like, I want to know what you're cooking and like what your recipes are. Okay, I can do that. Let's talk hair for a second. Okay, so I know my hair isn't amazing, and I actually like get really frustrated with it, but this has been a game changer for us financially. So I stopped getting my hair done, and I used to be in the chair for like 4 hours at a time because I have really thick hair, and I also have premature like white hair, so I needed to like bleach it out and like highlight it all the time and whatnot. And highlighting with the foil, oh my gosh, I looked like a crazy person for 4 hours. I would be exhausted when I got home. Not to mention it would be like $280. I cut out getting my hair dyed and cut. I even cut my own hair for a while, but I started a new thing where I get my hair cut annually at like Fantastic Sam's for $35. And then I box dye my hair with L'Oreal, like a very light ultra blonde. I've talked about this in my weekly vlogs. And I do that like every 1 to 2 months. It's like $6 to $10 for a box, which is such a great price. So I do that. And granted, I want to like have maybe something highlighted because I have a lot of gold left in my hair from changing the color. So, you know, sometimes I might invest in like switching it up and fixing a problem area, or like fixing the hair that I cut myself from YouTube. That happened too. Or henna in my hair and fixing that problem. So, you know, there's fixes, and that's a whole other thing. But the annual budget is really just my box dye and the one haircut a year. My husband trims his own beard and shaves his head, and I cut my own daughter's hair, and she has long curly hair, so it's very forgiving and like easy to not see any flaws with it. But also I got some nice hair cutting shears from Amazon. They were like $15, and I feel like I can do like a good straight across cut with those. I don't do anything fancy, and she likes her hair really long, so it's like easy. So I was calculating that, and I think that's about roughly $70 to $100 in that range per year for all three of us. That's huge. And you just have to kind of get over your vanity and also just realize like it's just hair and it's not that big a deal. Another one is phones. So another area of focus for saving big is phones. I have never had an iPhone. I've had an iPad, but I've never had an iPhone. My husband's really into tech stuff, and we've always used Androids. We've used Android tablets. We've used Android phones. I always pay cash for my phone, so I don't pay like over $300 for a phone. I never finance a phone. That's another thing. Dave Ramsey doesn't want you to finance anything. So that kind of helps keep me in check. It's like, I don't want to finance stuff because Dave Ramsey's like, you need to pay cash for it. So save up, save your money. So by not having an expensive financed phone and having a researched good Android used phone for under $300 with a great camera, because Androids do have great cameras. I have a Pixel phone. I have a Pixel 3 and I love it. So, I mean, imagine if I had like Pixel 7 or something. It would be a whole new world. But again, my phone is paid for. And then the other catch here is that my husband researches alternative phone plan companies or phone companies. And Ting we used to use, they were Canadian, and it was like $25 a month. And now we use Visible for $25 to $30 a month per line, unlimited lines, $25. And that uses the same like cell service as Verizon. So the connectivity is really good. So between the two of us, it's like $55 a month on phones, and that's it. And there's no plan like you can get right out of it, and there's no finance phone. So I feel like that's a really reasonable amount. So am I boring you yet? Hopefully this is helpful. Another big area for us is that we have one car payment, and we don't buy cars over $20,000. So literally like right at 20,000, we're like, cut. And we actually didn't get warranty for $3,000 on top of that when we bought our car, because we were like, we drive a Ford. because we were like, no, it goes over 20,000. So no, we're done. And that's, almost $400 a month. That's a large car payment, in my opinion. I would never be in a $700 or $800 payment. Like, that would scare me to death. That was as far as we were gonna go. And you can get a really good car for $20,000. I love my car. You could get a good one probably for $10,000. And we have a truck with no car payment. That's kind of always been like our like superpower, I think, in keeping like afloat and getting ahead and living in expensive California cities, is that we have one car payment, two cars, and a low car payment for that too. It's really made such a difference, and it just keeps like everything simple. So if you can do that, I highly recommend that you do that. Like, go sell one of your cars right now. So if you can do that, I highly recommend it. Like, get rid of a payment and get a junker that's like sort of a reliable car, and then have that other reliable car with a low payment and just share and like make it work. It really makes a difference. So we have Amazon Prime, and we kind of play this little game. This is like how we Amazon Prime it. Okay, so we like check in with each other, and usually the spending for Amazon Prime happens like from my bed at night. I feel like a lot of times in the middle of the night. So I've had to like keep that in check. So that's something where we're like, okay, let's check each other and like, let's like totally be on the same page with our Amazon Prime spending, to make sure that we're not going over the deep end and like getting into like weird situations with money. Because it's so easy when it's that convenient to just be like, send it, see you tomorrow. So we'll be like, hey, how do you feel if I get like Snow White matching t-shirts for Willow and I, and then you could get a $20 t-shirt, or like have $20 to spend. So we kind of like keep like an equal footing, and then we'll like check in with each other and be like, what do you think about that? And then, we kind of just like approve the spending and like bounce off each other so that we're like on the same page. So that is a really great way to kind of keep on the same page with your spouse and like your spending, and keep yourself in check. We also do what we call a financial review, like bi-weekly. We do this. At that point, I would look at like all of the expenses on my calendar. I have them written out on my calendar, what falls in the month, and I would look at that and be like, okay, this is how much we have left over after we pay bills, expenses in that 2-week period of time. Now what am I going to do with that money? Basically, you want to assign like every dollar an amount, whether it's like going into a savings account or being spent on a birthday gift or whatever. You're like assigning like all of the money that's left over after you subtracted your like required obligatory things to survive, then what's left over, and you assign it to a dollar amount. And I just love that, because then you can really like hang on to it and get focused on where your money's going. So I would say getting focused on your finances, and definitely checking in with your spouse or whoever you're sharing finances with. Like, make sure that you're like having a little powwow and you're talking about all those things. Dave Ramsey's all about that, like the unit working together. And I love that concept. Another thing, what's like a huge one for me as a crafter, if you're like artistic, or you're that mom that loves to make all the treats or like throw the parties or whatever, using Dollar Tree as your main craft store location, like your main craft store go-to, is huge. So the Dollar Tree, like, I only get my glue sticks there. They're so cheap. It's like $1 for a full pack. And I feel like 2 of those packs would be like $6.99 at Michael's. So I always get my hot glue there. And whenever I have a project that I'm working on, I start at the Dollar Tree first, and I shop for as much of the project that I can get there. And then I head on over to Michael's or Hobby Lobby after that. So I'll go into the Dollar Tree and I'll be like, okay, I need pom-poms, if they have cute ones. Sometimes they don't. I need pom-poms, I need hot glue, I need rope, and I need vases or whatever. So I would grab those things. Obviously, you want to pick what's elevated and looks nice and like is a decent quality, because Michael's will have like a little bit better quality. Just depends on what you're getting. But rope is going to be the same over at Michael's. So I always start at the Dollar Tree, and I get as much as I can in the quality that I think is appropriate before I go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and then I get the rest there. So I'm kind of always thinking in this financial mindset. So, you know, I don't go to Starbucks. If we go to Starbucks, we're basically like on vacation, or I'm buying my daughter a cake pop for $3.75 after piano. Like every 2 weeks or so, we'll get a cake pop at Starbucks, and it'll be like this fun little sweet thing. I do not buy my coffee out. Barely ever. I don't like to spend outside of the home on food. We've gotten a little bit lazy. On certain days, we're both working really hard, and so those will be like our takeout days. But they used to be delivery days, and we were paying extra for that, or eating out days, and we were paying a ton for tip. So now we're doing takeout days, but I still want to like reel that in and just like eliminate one of those. So it's just once a week, but it is in the budget, and it is a convenience. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I know I could tackle this if I just want to focus on it. So tackle how much you're eating out, make sure it's in your budget, do takeout instead of dining out or delivery. You'll pay so much less. Don't get drinks. I know this sounds crazy, but I do extreme stuff. Don't get drinks. That saves you a ton. Don't get dessert. And then if you can, like minimize the portion. Like instead of getting the 3-plate at Panda Express, get the bowl. You know, there's ways to make things more affordable for yourself. A lot of times you can order from the kids menu and they don't even care. And honestly, it's almost the same portion. So I'm always thinking like that. And that I learned to be like that from Jordan Page. So she's all about like, you know, saving money, cutting costs, prepping food so that you don't spend your money everywhere. A big one for me is like, if I'm going to drive somewhere and I know I'm going to be out of the house for at least an hour to an hour and a half, I will bring drinks, water. I will bring a little iced lunch pail, and I will pack it full of snacks, lunch, whatever we might need, because I just know that ultimately like I'm going to get hungry or I could get into traffic. So I find that works out best to plan ahead for things like that. So hopefully all of this information has been helpful for you, and maybe, you know, you can take away some inspiration from it. That's what my channel is really about. That's why I started this channel. Basically, I just wanted all moms to feel like they could do whatever they wanted, and that they could follow all the trends and be inspired and live the life that they wanted to, and live magically with their children, and I'll have all the fun and have the family life that they so desired. So for me, because I was a stay-at-home mom and I had to work really hard to have all the things, I had to, you know, put in a lot of labor and love. I had to put in a lot of time to make things from scratch so that my daughter could have all the things, and so that we could go on the trips. And, you know, I saved money and sold stuff and put it in the Disney jar every time we went to Disney. I planned months in advance to get that cheaper hotel. You know, I saved my pennies. I penny pinched. I sacrificed. And I still do it to this day. And it makes things better. We save money and we have more money because of it. And so I highly recommend making a budget, making a plan, and sacrificing, I guess, is like the main point. Is you have to sacrifice to have all the things, which is kind of a weird thing to think, but you have to give up things to have the things that you really, really want. So it's like you have to get focused on, what do I want? And is it coffee at Starbucks every day? Or would I rather, you know, get matching Disney outfits whenever I want to, or take that trip, that magical trip? Or, you know, would I rather give up going out to eat all the time so that I could do more DIY projects, or whatever? You need to find like what your focus is, and like why you want to save the money, and like what your goals are and stuff like that. So If this is at all interesting to you, please subscribe to my channel. I'm all about saving money and living magically, and I talk about this weekly, daily on Instagram too. So please follow along, subscribe, like it, comment. Let me know if this is helpful for you and if it's fun to hear about. So definitely comment if you have questions or if you want to hear about something more specifically or in more depth based on what I talked about today. So thanks for being here, and I will see you next week.